fucking Cartoon Network dropping episodes early. So yeah, Cartoon Network dropped another episode early. Seems that old habits die hard. Though to be fair, this time isn't one of the most egregious examples. At the very least, they just dropped the first of the 4 episodes that make up the 4-part series finale of the show, which I'm not going to say doesn't annoy me, because especially after watching this episode, it's clear that they're all meant to be viewed together, and I would have liked to have gotten the chance to view them all together for the first time. But the episode is technically officially out. It's out on the app and on their website too, if I'm not mistaken, and also legally all over the friggin' internet, but that's beside the point. So I feel like I should probably go ahead and review it, and it's mostly set up for the finale event overall, so not only am I mostly okay with them releasing it early because of that, but also I don't have a ton to say. I'm going to gush about one thing in particular, but for the most part, there's not much to say about this one. The main purpose of this episode simply seems to be to, 1, as I mentioned, set up the finale overall, 2, show us what the Diamonds and Homeworld have been up to since the events of the movie, and 3, to establish very quickly that the Diamonds can't actually help Steven, because remember, Steven understands at this point, after what he did in the previous episode, finally, that he needs to reach out to somebody, but he's still disillusioned with Greg and the other gems, and so he doesn't think that they can help. Not to mention that they're not nearly as powerful as he is. He's probably hesitant to ask anybody back on Earth for help at this point because of what he ended up doing to Jasper, basically by accident. Like, yes, he intended to attack her, but he didn't intend to actually kill her. And speaking of killing Jasper, holy shit, this face here when Steven tells her not to come with him and find something better to do with her life. I don't think I felt this bad for her when she was shattered. Not to say that saying that she was shattered again in that moment would be entirely inappropriate. Like, look at her. Regardless of how she came around to Steven, she genuinely cares about her relationship with him now. And he kind of looks like he might have broke her heart. I still definitely think she's going to play a part in this finale, though. So I don't expect this to dissuade her from trying to serve him as her diamond. But we'll see where things go. I'm certainly interested in seeing where they go from here. Anyway, as the title of the episode, Homeworld Bound, suggests, Steven heads to Homeworld to try to get help from the Diamonds, and we see a few things right off the bat. First of all, the gems that were literally the walls on Homeworld, it looks like they've been freed, and they can actually move around despite the fact that they're walls. So that's nice, that's good. I really wanted to see something happen with them. I'm glad they thought to include it, because by God, an existence of the wall must be extremely torturous. We also get to see that even on Homeworld, gems are participating in democratic elections between Zircon and Zircon, so it seems about on par with American elections, at least here on Earth. I made myself sad. Anyway, but most of all, the place looks a lot brighter and cozier, like a place that people would actually like to live, which is good. The planet's still broken into pieces, but overall, it seems like a pretty pleasant place. I honestly didn't expect Homeworld to have made this much progress by the time we returned here. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm pleasantly surprised by some of the stuff that happens later on. First of all, Steven bumps immediately into Spinel, which was very nice. I missed her a lot, actually. And interestingly enough, despite the fact that he hasn't really been reaching out to others for help lately, Steven, despite the fact that Spinel is still a little annoying, and he still finds her a little annoying, reaches out to her for help in getting to the Diamonds, in finding where they are so he can talk to them. But still, that was pretty nice to see. And Spinel does take him to the Diamonds, first yellow, and then blue, and then white. And we get to see what the Diamonds have been up to. And this is by far the coolest aspect of the entire episode. Blue, in an attempt to atone for making people feel bad so much for so long, invented magic weed clouds that make people feel good when you touch them. And like, yeah, if somebody is really down, that's just treating the symptom, not the problem. At least I would imagine in most cases anyway. But it's still a nice gesture. Her power has evolved, and her first thought was to make a place where others could come to benefit from those powers. It's very cool. And White Diamond, in a similar vein, has learned to use her powers in reverse to internalize other people's minds and allow them to control her and experience what it's like to be so big and powerful as a diamond. And we'll get back to that in a minute because the climax of this episode revolves around that, but I want to talk about what Yellow's been doing. And now I understand why it was necessary for us to learn prior to this episode that shattered gems can actually be repaired. And I will say right out the gate, when I saw this, I had to pause the episode because I was struck so speechless that I couldn't focus on what was happening. I'm just so happy that this is happening. Yellow Diamond is taking the still bubbled fusion experiments, taking them apart into their components, and then putting them back together and restoring them. Because even after she puts them back together, because they are still missing pieces once she does, their bodies are messed up, she's learned that she can permanently change a gem's physical form using her disruption powers. So she is able to not only bring them back, but give them back their lives. And in this case, giving them back their lives means giving them new lives in this new free and democratic gem society. Like, it sounds like Blue and White are doing great things for their people too. It seems like they are making genuine strides to be better people and redeem themselves. But what Yellow's doing is just, I couldn't be happier. Like, I'm so invested in the world of this show, and I care so much about these characters who have been wronged by these other characters, that I don't think I've ever been this happy about what is effectively a background development in a show. But because I don't want to gush about that too much, I'm going to move on from there. It's very, very cool. I'm very, very happy that they thought to include this. Now I'm going to move on from there to what happens between Steven and White Diamond. White Diamond has the idea that Steven could project himself into her using her powers, so less he's projecting himself into her and more she's allowing his mind to interact with hers, I guess. I don't know. And then talk to himself and try to work things out with himself. And this doesn't work for, I think, a pretty obvious reason. Steven is having issues with his powers going out of control because he's a diamond and is extremely powerful as a result. And so seeing himself as White Diamond isn't conducive to his healing at all, and he has a very adverse reaction. But and this isn't untrue or anything, he then gets angry with White Diamond because all of this is kind of her fault and the fault of the other diamonds. And even though he doesn't blame them anymore, he wouldn't wish harm on them anymore, even though he even cares about them and thinks of them as family, there is a part of him that still wants to hurt them for all the hurt that they put him through. And he did just learn how to release his anger in bursts of power from Jasper. So, and I'm not entirely sure what happened here, I'm making my best guess. He seems to project his own power back into White Diamond, switching them, putting her into his body and him into her body so that he can move her around like a puppet, but we see sort of like an internalized Mindscape version of it, so it looks like a giant Steven controlling a small pink White Diamond, and I'm pretty sure this is where the pink White Diamond from the intro comes from. And still thinking that he's Steven controlling White Diamond's body and not the other way around, in a fit of vengeful rage, he walks her over to a pillar and has her slam her head into the pillar, attempting to shatter her gem. but he's really only slamming his own head into the pillar, so it snaps him out of their connection. And then he runs away and leaves, because now it seems that he could even hurt the diamonds, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody with these outbursts. He does stop and talk to Spinel a little bit before he goes, asking her how she got over her vengeful feelings, but the answer is just Steven Universe, which doesn't help him at all. And so he leaves Homeworld as well. Man, again, this episode felt very much like set up for the rest of the finale. But that's not to say that a lot didn't happen here. It's just, I don't really know how to evaluate this until we've seen the finale as a whole, if that made sense. Like, the fact that Steven's powers have grown so great and so out of his control that he can accidentally affect a diamond, another diamond, I guess. He is technically a diamond. Is pretty frickin' scary. It's that same halfway cool kind of scary, though, that his fight with Jasper was. So it was still pretty thrilling to see. Though I think at this point we can confirm that his human side doesn't hold him back, and may even make him stronger, because he is at least on par with the other diamonds in terms of his power. And if you think about it, just like the other 3 diamonds, Steven's using his powers in reverse. Yellow is no longer destabilizing forms, she's now stabilizing them. Blue is no longer causing people pain, she's causing them joy. White is no longer putting herself into other people's minds, she's letting other people into hers. And Steven is using his powers to hurt people. Thematically, it's very cool. And it does seem like maybe the diamonds are now going to be trying to follow after him wherever he ends up, like the crystal gems were. Which is pretty neat, because it would be very cool to see all of his family members who have wronged him in the past have to come together in some form or another to help him. Right? We can all agree that would be pretty rad, right? End of the day, though, until we get the next 3 episodes, or at least the next 2, I think the last one might be an epilogue. But at the very least, the next 2, and probably the next 3 episodes, I don't have anything else to say about this one. So, I feel like I need to ask, what did you guys think of the episode Homeworld Bound if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And also, just out of curiosity, do you think that the title of this episode is specifically a reference to the movie Homeward Bound, An Incredible Journey? Or do you think it's just a reference to the general turn of phrase, Homeward Bound? Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.